The most interesting case study in D2C history. From zero to $1 million a month in less than 12 months, spending only 5K a day on ads without using a computer. What the hell? Mr. Abraham Mikhail, welcome.
How are you?
Good, bro. Look, I don't know where to start, but I think the reason why you're able to achieve what I just said was probably because of your background. You're not from D2C land. It's the first direct-to-consumer business you had. So maybe tell everyone a bit about your background, where you got started in business and how you got to flight risk.
Well, I started my business when I was 21. Dyslexic, can't use a computer, as you mentioned. Thanks for embarrassing me with that. But use my phone basically for everything. So I started my business when I was 21. Uh, Truth was not really employable if you can't use a computer or you can't write emails and the basics, fundamentals of actually running a business. So I decided to start a little phone shop that was 15 square meters. And then just over now I've owned Phone King for about 23 years. And just over a 23-year period, just focused on all the things that I was most probably good at and didn't focus on the things that I wasn't good at. And just really just doubled down on the things that I just knew I could do because I had no other option. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've done it.
And I'm not good at learning things. Like I'm good at learning with my hands and kind of doing things, but learning a new skill, like trying to use a computer, unfortunately 23 years ago too, man, like
Yeah.
there's no chat GPT, you know, none of those tools existed, Siri that for your telephone for just really started getting good maybe around about 10 years ago. So unfortunately, I just had to kind of just make it work. So
Yeah.
I started and
And that's real, right? Like I remember in person once when you were speaking to into your phone and you asked me how to spell, like, I don't know, it was like cake or something. And I thought it was
yeah,
like you were just exaggerating the situation, but no, it's real. Like, and what you've dealt with and what you've achieved is ridiculous. So no one's got any excuses. If anyone's wondering, what they're
yeah, yeah.
useful.
I think excuses. Yeah, I don't believe in excuses because if I did, I most probably wouldn't have been able to achieve some of the things that I have. Yeah, so just focus on what you're good at, not
Yeah.
what you're not good at.
Well, tell me about flight risk then. So you had the phone king business for 23 years. What made you, start flight risk?
I think I've I've always been interested in kind of making products and doing things that other people needed or that I saw a gap in the market because there's a lot of people making products, but to be honest with you, a lot of people take shortcuts on products. So, after all that experience of going to China, engineering products and doing, you know, all of that groundwork, um, looking at the e-bike market in Australia, especially, and then also internationally, there was a massive gap in safety technology, and just general look and feel of the bike where it wasn't a product that I would want to ride. So kind of making a product that I wanted to kind of be on myself also was most probably the biggest thing.
And talk about product for a second, because I think one of the main reasons why you guys had that explosive growth is because what we call, Ecomm Architects that you're familiar with is a distinct product. And we have a whole framework on how to create that new kind of exterior that, well beyond what we probably even teach. But how important is creating a distinct product in the market? You see your branding there, like it's pink, it's loud. There's like clear identity to it, even all your marketing, your visuals. Talks about like how important the product and the brand is too, because I know you're vlogging in China. Have you been to China like how many times in the last year or so? How long have you been there?
Um,
4 or 5 times?
I've been to China. I have been to China over the last approximately year and a half. Every 4 to 6 weeks, I'd
Yeah.
then spend 2 to 3 weeks in China. So it was, yeah, like it's honestly, I I feel like I've become Chinese because of actually how much time I spend. Yeah, but it's kind of what you need to do because people think creating a product is just getting on Alibaba and doing a bit of research. But I think if you really want to create a product that stands out and unique and also that you're proud of, you need to kind of go to that next level, not just face value and not making just a product look good, but actually work well too.
And what are the things that you've done in so your product that you think have allowed you to separate yourself from the market? Because I think based on the feedback you've been telling us also is that you're winning in terms of resellers now and like retail land as well, because your features, your technology, and all the effort you put in the last year, on the ground level, the factories are starting to pay off because your buying is noticeably different from a technical perspective and a visual perspective.
No, like, to be honest, like, look, if looking at what I did to kind of create flight risk, like there was parts of that journey where I thought, did I make the right decision? And is this too hard or is it achievable? And I remember having quite a few conversations with you. And you were telling me, I was like, man, this is so hard. And I don't know if I can do this. And you said to me, I still remember the words, you're like, if it's hard, it means that you're heading in the right path and
Yeah.
keep going because that's where it's meant to be. So
Yeah.
I think man, honestly, flight risk has been one of the proudest things that I've created, but it's tested every piece of my patience um, and belief in myself, I think, too. Um,
Mm.
I'm not sure if you remember, but for me to start flight risk, I knew that the job was going to be a massive task and it wasn't going to be easy. So I decided to move my family overseas to Thailand for 10
Yeah.
months. Because I really knew, like, I knew what we were trying to achieve with the technology that we were putting into the bike wasn't going to be easy. And it wasn't just a couple of emails. It was actually really understanding the product and really kind of going to the level of not just look, but the technology and then being a part of every piece of that process. And because when you're working with technology, anything can go wrong. So, at the end of the day, you're using electronic components, and things did go wrong. Um, I'm sure we'll touch on. But the commitment to create flight risk was to kind of get myself in the best mental headspace because I went to Thailand, started training to become healthier because I knew that there was a level of commitment mentally and physically that I had to put into the business. And we're talking through that journey because I think at that time you were going through your health transition.
Yeah.
And I think part of that, getting your mind right first and then physically getting your body right for that journey was the goal. And then putting myself in a position in Thailand where I was separated from all my friends, family, so separating myself from my friends and my family, so I could really focus. I've got a bit of ADD, so it's easy for me to yeah, and all the rest of those problems that you have in life. Um, so I kind of had to make a serious decision of moving overseas, separating myself, getting healthy, and then committing to traveling to China every 4 weeks so I could be a part of every step of that process.
And I think that's a lot of founders don't do, right? I speak to so many, brands that we coach in the community. How many times have you visited the factory? None. Do you know what I mean? And then what level of product development do you think can be done virtually? Like if you were in your warehouse there in Sydney, where do you think the product would be? It'd be nowhere near where it is today, right?
Look, it's like almost maybe more old fashioned in thinking compared to most probably a lot of other entrepreneurs these days. Um, and the commitment to working to get the job done. I think a lot of people expect to just find a product, bring it into
Mm.
the country, create a website, put them
Yeah.
together, and to create a product. And unfortunately, there's a lot more to running a business than actually doing that, and for it to be able to kind of make sales because it's a hard market out there at the moment. There's a lot of e-commerce brands, and you need to do a little bit more than what everyone else is doing. You need to step up a little bit. So
Yeah. And it
it's
makes everything easier. What people don't realize, like when you create like a beautiful, unique, distinct product, the marketing becomes a lot easier, and a lot more efficient because now you've separated yourself from the pack. And everyone says like optimizing just Facebook ads, Google, all the generic shit. but they're not looking far enough down the line in terms of creating like a product. And I know it's hard. Like I remember you called me it was a couple of weeks ago. You're like, man, Sam, so grateful. You did like your first $1 million a month. I'm so grateful, all the help and stuff like that. But you could feel that you're just emotionally so proud as well. Because I think when you create something your own and such a distinct product and you see it come to life, it's different than just going to a factory and ordering something off the fucking shelf and putting a label on it. You know what I mean? It just hits a lot harder because now you feel like you've really created something. That's why I'm so proud, to see what you've done because I've seen the whole process from start to finish. So walk through like you always say, at an emotional level, what you went through and how you feel at the coming at the end of it because you really did create something unique and your own.
The hairs on my arms was like, they're still like, look at them, they're standing,
Yeah.
while you said that because, that was, that was a journey. That
Yeah.
that that, that whole process of creating Flight List was a journey. But before I go into it, if I didn't have those struggles that I had throughout that launch period, I most probably actually wouldn't have the product that I have now. And
Sure.
those hard times and, all the failures that happened throughout that process, to be honest, is a blessing. And at the time I was in the middle of all that pain, I most probably didn't see that. And that's why at that time I called you to thank you because, mentoring me through that, and kind of just that belief that you instilled in me by kind of telling me the things maybe that I needed to hear. Maybe you were lying to me, but whatever it was, it helped me continue to go because, at some points, a lot of people asked me, a lot of people questioned what I was doing. And they asked me, they're like, are you sure what you're doing is correct? And do you know what you're doing? And but the truth is, when you're kind of launching a business, you don't really know everything you're doing, but you're having to go and you're trying your hardest.
Mm.
So those moments when we would talk about either branding or about struggles I was going through and, that belief that you had in me, uh, you know, is the reason I called you that day, having an emotional kind of day because
Yeah.
we did nearly $1 million in a week. And
We
I look I look back at it and I just, I actually called quite a few of my friends around me, and you're one of those people that really supported me through that hard time. So thank you, first of all.
No, it's a pleasure for my end witnessing it. And I'm not going to go on product development too much longer because we have to work out and tell everyone how the marketing side came about because you did that in an unconventional fashion as well, but which we'll go into. But you know, just tell people when you go so deep in product development, shit always goes wrong. Like I know with us Q and previous businesses, product development takes forever.
We launched in Australia with 1,000 bikes. That was my first order. And we had a GPS that a factory and a very well known factory that made technology for Mercedes, Audi, Volkswagen, and all the big car companies. So technology that and a factory that looked like a castle. So all the signs that I was looking for to make sure that this was a great factory were there. So we launched a product with 1,000 bikes in the market and it failed. Our GPS didn't work. Customers' bikes were being stolen, and we had promised all our customers that our bikes would have our bikes would have a GPS.
Yeah.
And after launching the product within the first 8 weeks, we had basically sold out of our bikes. And then flew to China, had a meeting with the factory, um, and then I had to make a decision: are we going to pull the technology and stop working with this factory, or make a decision to move to another technology company to help support us launch this app? Um, and throughout that journey, we actually stopped production of our bikes
Mm.
for 6 months. And from a business that kicked off, that was doing really well, to stop production and still have a business running for another 6 months without a piece of technology or even a bike to sell, was a serious decision. But what I did know, and a lot of people were telling me to give up and just create a bike without the GPS, because actually no other bike in Australia had an app or GPS to control the bike. So what I was trying to achieve was not done before on a fat tire e-bike in Australia. But I knew in a saturated market where all bikes are really the same when you come down to brakes, tires, and so on, I knew that creating this app and creating this technology to make the bike safer was so important that we literally stopped production for 6 months, didn't produce one bike until the technology was ready
Yeah.
and that we could go back into the market with a point of difference and a product that we're proud of. Because there's no point entering a market if you're selling the exact same product as everyone else and just putting your logo on it and maybe adding the ribbon and an extra sticker.
Yeah.
It's not going to help you convert customers. And then all your paid ads and everything else, all you're going to do is end up having to devalue your product by dropping your price because your product is no longer different to everyone else's. It's literally the same product in a different box.
Exactly.
So the importance of creating a product that is unique and different is absolutely the most important thing. No matter how hard it is, don't start a product if you're not going to at least have 4 or 5 different point of differences.
Yeah.
And that can be from color too. It it
Yeah.
it
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
doesn't just like you need to be different. And like I've learned a lot of that through you too, also, Matt, where everything that you do, you've always had a point of difference. And I think part of you going through that motion and teaching me that stuff has also made me realize that you need to be different to make sales. Then once you've got that, then understand the ecom world and then follow the structure and then push your sales. And that's where you can maybe start breaking the market.
Yeah, well said. And I think that feeds into the concept of this 5 levels of market
Sorry,
sophistication.
one second. I just got that wrong.
That's right.
Sorry.
That's right. And that
Flight,
that feeds
flight
into
risk is also in the flight path.
it's No, but I think based on what you said, there's 5 levels of market sophistication, right? And the 4th level is when you're competing against unique mechanisms. Like you have to create a unique mechanism to compete in the market. Otherwise, you're the same as everyone else. But level 5 is all around identity. And I think that's where you also crush it to make your identity, the flight risk brand, different from everyone else's. And you did like a lot of offline activations, even though we were advising you to maybe go less on the offline side and more on the online side. But you did you, and kudos to you. Um, you know, and you crushed it. You went so high. You did guerrilla marketing stuff. Like, tell us the stuff you're doing. You're putting stickers on other people's e-bikes. Tell us about the Kid Laroi scenario, the community stuff you're doing, the Easter egg hunt or whatever you did. You did so much. Give people some ideas on how you do
Yeah.
awareness for your brand that's not Meta or it's not Google. There's other ways to do it.
Yeah, look, I think that's true because I remember showing you my first marketing ad and my first logos, and you looked at it and you literally in front of the head designer and the whole team, you looked at something I'd spent $45,000 putting together. You looked at it and you're like, yeah, that's cool. It's not going to convert anyone. I think that's a pretty big waste of money. And the team, like you walked out of our warehouse that day after our meeting, and the team looked at me and they're like, who is he? And I'm like, like we were so proud watching you our launch video and show you this stuff. And I now get why you said that. Like
Yeah.
what you actually said is so true. But I also know that I'm not good at that whole
So you
digital
will.
side of stuff. And
Yeah.
that's what you have helped us kind of focus on. But I know what I'm good at, and that's not that good, like that crazy stuff that I guess that you maybe shouldn't be doing or people tell you not to do. So down in Bondi Beach, there was concrete bollards everywhere. And at that time with our PR agent, she recommended that we potentially paint all these concrete bollards and make them pink and put our logo on them. And everyone said, don't do it. You're going to get in trouble. And it's not possible. We tried to do it legally, tried to find a painter. It
No.
wasn't going to happen. So found a painter and went down at 12 o'clock at night. I dressed all the painters in overalls and put witches' hats all around the bollards so we could act like council workers. Um, and in front of absolutely everyone on a Friday night, we painted, I think it was like 25 bollards, bright pink, and then sprayed our logo on them. So that was our first thing as a stunt to kind of be like, we're entering the market. Um, and I'm happy to talk about that because the council gave me a $6,500 fine for that. So
Did they? That's cheap.
yes, and I paid it. I
Cheap.
paid it. But
Cheap.
yeah,
I didn't know that.
I've done I've done that part.
And then
Um,
there's e-bikes that you can like rent for free, like the ones the council gives you. You started putting your stickers on them as well.
oh, I'm not gonna say I put the
It says
stickers on
some.
them, but
It says so your
the,
bread stickers.
the, what we realized is that we had all these stickers that we were
Yeah.
giving out to customers, and some of them said, "Even your ex up, even your ex upgraded," or "You don't know where this seat's been." It's those line bikes, the sharing bikes.
Yeah, yeah.
So everyone that was potentially on a line bike or a share bike is potentially one of our customers.
Yeah.
So not sure exactly how it happened, but over a period of 4 months, um, line bikes and share bikes had a sticker on them with a QR code that took them to our website that said maybe buy a flight risk. So that happened. We're still trying to actually figure out how that happened.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
it was a coincidence, and it ended up working in our favor. We're trying to investigate that a bit further to see how all those stickers turned up. But
And another thing you're probably still trying to investigate is the robbery that you have.
oh yes, um,
Tell everyone about the fake robbery that you staged and edited as if it was on the Channel 9 news and started
yes.
everyone started looking for these people and hunting them down, and then you had to tell them that it was all fake marketing stuff.
Look, I before I say that, I'm going to say this is whilst you're getting all your recognition on Instagram and all your paid ads, and you're doing Google paid ads, you're doing Meta, you're doing on every channel you can think of, there's an importance of being able to connect those dots offline. So not just ads getting delivered to you, but how can someone else recognize your brand, not just through a paid ad?
Yeah.
And I believe connecting those dots kind of then really kind of creates a brand. Um, so I had so the GPS that we first did failed, and we had just placed another order of bikes. The GPS was working, and we're so proud of it. But I had been out of the market for 6 months. I couldn't sell a bike. All the competitors were trying to take over what we were doing. And I had to enter the market with making some noise, but communicating that our GPS is now working. But how do we do that? We didn't actually have a big budget because, when you don't have a product to sell for 6 months and you're virtually broke,
Mm.
how do you scale and trying to get attention fast? So I had an idea that when the bikes come and the shipping container comes into the street, that we'll get a marching band or we'll escort it down with like cars that these bikes have finally arrived. We've waited 6 months, lost over $500,000 throughout this process. And finally the bikes are here. But having a chat with my team and actually my wife, um, they came up with an idea and they said, why don't we come up with a heist? And I was like, okay, not
So it's the
bad. I
wife's
like the
idea.
idea.
It's a
Yeah.
wife.
What was that? Sorry.
It's your wife's idea.
Yeah, it was my wife's idea and the team because I wanted to do a marching band. um, and they came up with the highest. But what I didn't actually realize with their idea was that I was actually going to be the person involved in doing this. And I had just flown back from China because I had just gone investigated and checked the last shipment. I packed every box, made sure the product was right. And I was just flying in. I got off my flight that day at 6:30 a.m. At 8 o'clock at night, we were putting together this heist to start advertising. GPS is working. I had just done 3 weeks straight in China, straight off a plane, and we're now about to perform the heist. But what I didn't realize was that I was the person that had to share this to all my friends, family, and my whole network of friends. Like, it,
You just get everyone to believe it.
yes. So what happened was we recorded the video. Once we knew the date of the stock arriving, it was a Friday night. I was going at 7 o'clock in the morning. I had recorded the content that we had created off a computer screen and made it look like it was a robbery, that it was me in my server cabinet going, oh my God, look at that person. That was the person that stole the bike. And I was going to then send that out to WhatsApp groups and all my friend network that is in my phone list. I, like, do I regret it? A little bit, because there's a lot of people that's still upset with me over it. One of my friends put a um, $100,000 prize reward to get it back. I had another friend put in a mother's group, a school group, family groups, because there was a lot of friends and family that I had sent it to through my WhatsApp, and I had sent it at 7 o'clock in the morning. So people were waking up to my business being robbed. And a lot of people knew my story, that I had no stock and we were struggling at that time. So, so grateful for it. But a lot of people reshared it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And when I say reshared it, like, I had to turn off my phone. Look, my hairs on my arms standing there. People started turning up to my warehouse. People started turning up to my house. People started calling people. And it got to a point where the offline side of it had snowballed over a 24-hour period, that everyone was resharing it on WhatsApp groups. So then what I did 24 hours later, I then shared it on my personal page on Instagram. Once again, sharing it from a handheld perspective. So people thought it was just me recording the camera. And then I let that roll out again for another 24 hours. And then I made a decision not to post it on the company page until Monday. We were going to do it on Sunday, but I thought it'd be too ad kind of feeling. So on Monday night, after Friday morning into Saturday, into Sunday, now Monday night, we now launch. Everyone nearly knows about 1,000 bikes being stolen.
Yeah.
So then we launch it on our company page, and this thing took off. The amount of shares, the amount of views, the amount of people messaging, but also the amount of people that actually cared. And that's what made me feel bad, because a lot of people cared. And it was a nice feeling. Um, and I appreciated all the shares and all the resharing that they did. Um, and then we launched the ad. I think it was meant to be like on the Wednesday or Thursday night, and we pulled it early because I started to get that. I got the Daily Telegraph contacting me, people asking me to do police reports, like news channels, like people were reaching out, and we could watch on our stories who was watching, and all the news channels were watching. And I was like, I
Yeah,
can't handle this anymore.
yeah, yeah.
I basically have a nervous breakdown. So we went live with the ad, and the amount of reach that we got organically was insane. And that kind of just started
It didn't
the
even cost you
momentum.
that much. It cost you like 4 to 5 grand, right? That whole campaign around regional.
Hey,
And if everyone has to go check out the ad, like go to the Polite Risk page and just see how well it's done. But yeah, insane. Such a great idea, especially if you don't have money. So no one's got an excuse again. Everyone's got excuses
yes,
as, you don't use a computer, you don't have money. Like there's ways to be successful without this.
we were broke. We
Yeah.
hadn't sold the product in 6 months. So
Yeah.
we had to think of the most cost-effective way to make noise and to be recognized, and it worked.
Worked
And
it.
I think that was a massive learning for us too, what you can do without a big budget. Because, when you're starting a business or when you're in my position, and you don't have a big budget, you need to think of creative ways to be seen. And then, you've got the line bike stickers, you've got painted bollards, you've got
Fake
heist
burglar.
happening, and then you start doing a bit of AdWords and you start doing a bit of paid ads, and all those dots start to connect and compound. And that's where we started kicking some
Well,
serious clubs.
well, talk about budget. You had Kid Laroi on your bike, and you did that on a budget as well. Just quickly tell everyone, how did you get Kid Laroi, one of the world's biggest superstars, to get a photo with your bike for like 10 grand?
It, so I was working close at the time with a good friend of mine, but also a PR genius called Roxy. And I was about to launch Flight Risk in this warehouse, but Kid Roy wanted to be here on a Tuesday, and this warehouse, and he needed a place to play a song and come and sign some photos for his fans and all the people that, follow him. So I had to renovate this place from Friday to Monday morning. I was working 24 hours a day to do it. And this place was disgusting. I'll share a video or something about it, because this place was a tip inside. It
Yeah.
was a dump. And we made a decision to go, he needs a venue to pull up next to the airport, because we're near the airport, to
Mhm.
sign all his autographs and to kind of meet his fans. And we were providing the venue. So also a bit of back to that kind of guerrilla marketing and using opportunities and not using big budgets to do things. We provided him a beautiful place that we worked between Friday and Monday morning to paint the whole place, paint the ceilings, paint the floor, and get this place ready for him to do a signed autograph in our new flight risk shop. So I think that is also about seeing an opportunity and then actually getting it done. Because a lot of
Yeah.
people at that time said to me, it is not possible to turn around this warehouse in 3 days. And to be honest with you, it actually wasn't possible. Like, we got rollers and we painted the floor ourselves. Like, that we didn't let anybody tell us that it couldn't be done. And instead of wasting a key opportunity, we worked day and night to actually get it done. Where a lot of people most probably would have said that was too hard or
Yeah.
don't have the money to do it. But we physically came in and we did it ourselves. And that was our kickoff to Kid Laroi being in our flight risk warehouse and just making sure you make those opportunities count. If you see an opportunity, run it as hard as you can. Don't don't get scared. I think so many people are so scared to take the risk to do something, or so many people listen to so many people. And I think that's the biggest mistake. Like, unless you're listening to someone that's done it, like when I was listening to you and you told me, yes, Abraham, you
You
can
kind
do
of
it.
go, you kind of go, yeah.
Y- Yeah. But you were instilling that belief of
Yeah, yeah,
me,
yeah.
of kind of you can get it done. I think so many people fuck up because they listen to so many fucking people.
Yeah.
And I would not listen to somebody that you didn't like. If you don't look at someone and go, I want my life to be like them,
Yeah.
and you're taking advice from them,
Horrible
it
strategy.
just doesn't make sense. I see it so much. So listen to less people, or listen to people that have actually done it, because I don't think the advice is going to be helpful.
Yeah, in reality, like any founder can build his business in any way, shape, or form he wants. Like there's no direct, clear path on how to do it. And you've shown that, right? You had your own style, you had your own flavor, you had your own thought process, and you're able to grow. Probably one of the fastest growing e-bike brands in the world, I reckon. Like who we're doing $1 million a month within less than 12 months, considering you weren't even selling for 6 months of those 12 months.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
it's not,
honestly, if you really look at how old my business is right now, we launched last December and we're in December right now. And I was out of the market for 6 months. Like, my business is really 6 months old.
yeah, and already
And
doing $1 million weeks, not months, sorry.
yeah, that was, yeah, that was an insane week. That we did nearly $1 million in a week. That
Those those
from
moments where it feels like everything makes sense all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Nothing, because nothing really does make sense when you're going through the shit. And when sales aren't coming in, products are failing, and then you always have that one moment where it kind of all feels like, all right, it was all worth it, eh?
uh, look, I'll be honest with you, most times in business, most moments actually don't feel like they make sense at all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all you need is that one moment for it to make sense, and then it kind of gives you that belief again.
Yeah. The moment.
So I think just it's too easy to want to give up. And I think, believe in yourself, push past the barrier. And like you would say to me, if it was hard, it's most probably the right direction because less people will be heading down that direction. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes the hardest path is the hardest path to copy also.
All right, so like obviously tactical. Let's talk about tactical. Help everyone. How you still did $1 million, in a month. You did all that awareness stuff, all the guerrilla marketing, but then you did the paid stuff as well, which helped amplify everything and convert everyone. I think the main strategies we helped you implement was the Google side of things. People don't realize that Google can be a great top of funnel traffic source if you do more educational pages. Like we created a separate domain for you, and you had more educational content around e-bikes, and that kind of really helped get people into the market, educate them from a different source, a third party source that wasn't your brand, and eventually they came through, right?
Yeah, look, I've learned so much. Like, it's fantastic to have a product that looks different and has the technology, but then also understanding how the customer purchases and that customer journey is most probably the most important thing that I've actually learned recently. um, and how customers think, making sure that they've got the facts in front of them, making sure that they've got the information, your product versus another product, making sure that your ads are targeting the right audiences, making sure that your Google is targeting the right audience, and then making sure that they're all connecting so that customer journey is is like it needs to be on point for a customer to make a purchase these days. And for me, I'm selling a bike for $4,000. So the customer journey and thought process of making a $4,000 purchase off a bike that a company's only been in the market for 1 year, and some of my competitors have been in the market for 6, 7 years, 5 years, and have established brands, is most probably something that I've learned through you, and the aggressive nature that you take to being able to identify not just by the differences of your bike, so the customer journey matches. And you talk about it a lot between your top of funnel, bottom of funnel, middle of funnel. And I actually had no idea what you were talking about for the first 6 months. But then after you started kind of yelling at me, and started getting angry, I started realizing that maybe I need to take a bit more time to realize what you're actually talking about. But it makes sense if once you broke it down for me in steps. And I think one of the things that you actually taught me the most, Matt, was don't get caught up in your brand and don't get caught up in thinking everybody knows your product. Because I remember this so clearly. One of the key things you said to me was, Abraham, your marketing and all the things that you're doing is fantastic, but you're only attracting a small amount of the customers that actually need that product.
Mm.
There's also another 95% of people that are using Google to get their information, even if it's Google or ChatGPT and all those information sources that you're not turning up on. You've lost 95% of the other customers that are coming in. I remember you doing a Google search. You did a Google search of my two biggest competitors. and how many people were searching their name per month. And I think at the time it was like 10,000 versus to what we were at 2,000 or 2,500, if my memory serves me correct. And you broke it down for me and you said to me, they've got 10,000 people currently searching their names. And if you're not showing up within their searches, you've lost that customer. And I think that's what hit home for me the biggest and kind of made me make the changes. And to be honest with you, I really put that down to what led me to doing the nearly $1 million in 1 week in sales for our Pink Friday launch was insane. I think in one day we had nearly done $500,000 in sales, and then the rest of the week kind of accumulated. And it was following your strategy of making sure customers, when they search your product, that they find you, and then they also have an avenue to separate your product from the competitor to yours, and making sure that customer journey links the whole circle.
Yeah, and then what we started doing for you, I think, as well, we started creating a lot of different use cases and risk reversal strategies in terms of the content we're creating. So you started creating a lot of different unique content that was approached to different avatars, for mums or for dads driving their kids or for safety aspect. And you started creating a lot of content on Meta with a very diverse range, which I think really helped as well.
I think that's when I recognized what you meant to me and to the team, that we were trying to brag about our new brand advertisement, and you told us it was shit, and that you shouldn't have spent $45,000, and it was a waste of money. And I remember that week, I grabbed a content girl and I said, let's go out on the bike and let's just start creating UGC fact-driven ads that can help convert. And that was most probably one of the points where I really understood the difference between marketing and converting customers,
Yeah.
because it was great to have the marketing piece under control, but really what makes a customer make a transaction? And that's really talking about all your pros, cons, and what's the benefits. And then making sure that you're setting up those avatars for different unique audiences, your mums, your kids, your dads, your parent, having that whole kind of architect of different areas to focus on really made it made such a big difference. And I remember that day, one of the girls came into the office to me and goes to me, you know, those ads that you did, we converted 10 people just out of those ads. And I
Yeah.
was like,
Wow.
I'm doubling down on this.
And I use my iPhone.
And and I was doing the ads, so I understood what you meant. It cost me nothing to do. I had a content girl with a microphone. I'm in the middle of the road riding a bike, talking about my product, but understanding that actually gets more views than this glossy, beautiful thing. So there is a necessity to look beautiful so customers can fall in love with the product,
Yeah.
but but making sure that you talk about your product and that your ads are converting was most probably one of the biggest mistakes I made, and then also one of the best changes I made. So yes,
Yeah.
100%.
And I think that's why you've been so successful, because you've had that nice mix. You've had that mix between brand marketing and awareness driven stuff, the guerrilla stuff, and now you're putting the direct response stuff in terms of the e-com lane. And I think that's a beautiful mix. I think that's why you guys are definitely crushing it. But
Yeah,
uh,
but Matt, I'll tell you something. Your strategy is also a lot different to a lot of other people's, because I remember when we first launched, you said to me, how many abandonment carts have you had? And I'll be like, oh, 50 or 100. And you're like, have you called every single one of those customers? And I'm like,
yeah,
no. And you're like, get on the phone, start calling every single customer so you understand why they didn't buy. And I think that's the difference, right? You can do all these paid ads and you can do all this
yeah,
stuff. But what you taught me that day, and then I think what you did, you came into the back end of our website and you put all these questionnaires in place. How did you hear about us? Why did you choose us?
yeah,
And then you
yeah,
started making us realize what the customer was looking for and how they made their decision. And then also then doubling down on the content that actually made customers make those decisions. So I think that's a massive part that I haven't spoken about is, you know, when you have abandonment carts, finding out why the customer decided to drop off and then moving as fast as possible to make those changes or doubling down on the content for the reasons why they made those purchases. I think that's actually what made a really big change to us understanding the customer because it is so easy to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. And I've done it. I spent $50,000 once in 1 week spraying paid ads with not much of a return.
Yeah.
And then I think just, understanding your customer and understand why they make decisions, I think is really
Yeah.
important. And
Yeah, it's good you mentioned that because, like, I tell you, right, like, I spoke to our community manager. He called 300 customers in the last 2 months. Like, that's how people we're calling because, like, you hear things from them that you don't even realize as to why they're buying their product, what's important to them. You can hypothesize all you want, but in reality, they're gonna give you all the answers in their own words, and then you take that collateral and use it in your marketing, and honestly, it's gonna hit home harder because it's coming from them.
it sounds like the most basic
Yeah.
information, but I
It
think
is, yeah.
while you're running a business and you're so caught up with so many different
Yeah.
people's advice, opinions, marketing gurus, and seeing all this stuff that they just post on social media, to be honest with you, a lot of it's bullshit because they're just either trying to sell you some shitty course or put
Yeah.
you in some group environment. You know, download this and it will help you. We downloaded so many things and none of it's fucking helped us. But I think breaking down and understanding your customer is a game changer. So fucking if you're selling a product, put the hard yards in, take that advice of calling every customer and trying to figure out what they're looking for or why they didn't purchase, and then fixing that throughout your link.
Yeah, I think it's great advice. So how do we leave someone with, like, they're gonna start a brand, tomorrow? What advice do you have for them? Because a lot of people also, I think, I get stuck on what product category to go into, what to sell, how do I pick something, yeah, to sell. What advice do you have for?
You're frozen again, Matthew.
Oh, fuck it, Bill. No, no, no.
But you're back. Hello.
Hello.
Um, Hit me with that question again so we can
Yeah.
grab it.
So, what's one piece of advice you can give to founders today, whether they're just starting a brand, looking to start a brand, or wanting to go to the next level to get to that $1 million a month? What advice do you have them? Where should they put their energy, time, and attention and focus on that maybe they probably haven't heard before from another founder?
Make sure you're ready to commit, first of all. Make sure that you're ready to commit mentally, physically. And when I say that is don't pretend like you're committing because I speak to so many founders and so many people that own businesses and they're not prepared to do the tedious small work. Everyone just wants to do the sexy things. Nobody wants to do that hard hustle because when I explained to my team that they had to call every single person that had dropped off, nobody wanted to do it. So focus on the things that actually work. Don't get caught up in the gloss and the sexiness of running a business because the truth is 95% of times it's actually not the most sexiest thing you'll ever do is running a business. It's most probably the biggest nightmare that you will most probably go through in your life. And it's not made for everyone. Like,
No.
so be
No.
prepared. Be prepared. Don't put your money down and don't say you want to own a business unless you're ready to really commit. And then second of all, understand your product. Commit to research, commit to going there, figuring out how to make your product different. Then once you do that, bring that product in and focus on every part of what converts a customer, making sure that you got your Google ads running right, making sure that your information is correct, and making sure that you're really targeting the right audiences that are going to make those purchases because I've wasted hundreds and thousands of dollars on ads that didn't work because I was not looking for the right avatar or the right customer. So then doing that. And then once you've got that customer, for me, is making sure that your customer experience is on point. Making sure that you stand behind what you say. When we failed our GPS, we've replaced every single customer's GPS for free. We gave them all a free upgrade. Why? Because you need to believe in your product, and then you also need to guarantee your product. If you're only in the business for thinking that you're going to make $1 million in 1 month and you're going to be rich, don't start a business. The first 4 years, 5 years of a business is a fucking nightmare and will drain every part of you. So it's like, but if you get all those little things right, you'll then develop a business that customers believe in, that want to invest in by buying your product. And in turn, you'll create a great brand. And I think that's the real basics of running a business and the things that I see a lot of people maybe don't take serious enough.
Love that, bro. It's been a pleasure. Where can everyone find you?
Abraham McHale on Instagram, or you can follow flight risk .co or underscore co.
I think
Um,
it's
on-
dot a on Instagram. But the website is flyrisk.au, I believe, isn't it?
yeah, yes, sorry, flightrisk.au. Jump on our website, have a look, and then enjoy being targeted by all the ads that we've put in place for you. That should convert you. So have a look and then buy one of our bikes. Best product you'll find.
I've got 4. All right, listen. Been a pleasure.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
well,